My name is Roman. Mun namale Roman. Mun nemli Roman. I'm from the Lavozera. Lavozera is no so big village in the Murmansk region in the Russia. And I was born at the Lavozera and living all my life there, and I get education at the Karelia Petrozavodsk. I was living there maybe 5 or 6 years, and then I came back to my home, to the Lavozera. And what I can say about me? I very like the sounds, I very like the music, I like the play music, I like the record music, I like the record sounds. And in last years of my life, I was interested in Sami languages. And I was at Kautikena 6 years ago, and I was teaching. I was studying Northern Sami language. It was 6 years ago. I was here 1 semester, and then I came back to the Lavozera, Lujavre, Sami Namma. Early I didn't know any word in Sami language, but when I was at Kautikena, I started to study Sami language, and I was amazing about grammatic system of Sami language. I find out this very interesting mechanism, and when I came back to the Lavozera one day, I find out old dictionary making of my grandfather, and I opened this, and I was very amazing that grammatic of Kildin Sami language and Northern Sami language are same. Samma, Samma. And then I start to learn Kildin Sami language. I do it myself using only dictionary, and it is very good dictionary, a bilingual system, all sentences writing in Kildin Sami language and in the Russian language. And I'm just working with this dictionary, digitalize it, and put all dictionary in Excel, this Microsoft Office program. And before in my life, I was working like accounter, then like a chef accountant, like a financial director in the Lujavre college, and I know the Excel very, very good, but I use it always like always for the digits. But one day I try use it for the words, for the Kildin Sami language, and it's working. I was amazing, and I'm just put one word, put in the formula change ending of the word and put new ending, and I working maybe 2 years myself. Then I start working with the native speakers, and now I have my dictionary Munsoyahan. I'm making for each word, for example, for each verb, near 60 forms of the word. Present time, past time, сослагательное, кондиционала, я потенциала, я эйра, я other form of the verb, and now I have maybe half of a million words in my dictionary, and I perfectly understanding grammatic system of the Kildin Sami language, and I can make any word from the one verb, and it's very interesting system in my opinion. Sami language more difficult than Russian language, because in the Sami language we can find word form of the word which we can't find in the Russian language. Gerundi, for example, and other. Actually, active, in the Russian language, no. And then I make the dictionary for proofreading Kildin Sami language, and now I can do it, and I did it. I made the proofreading of the big book with the children poems in Kildin Sami language. It's 350 pages, and yeah, for example, and I did another work with proofreading, and my dictionary is working. I'm happy, and now I can check any text in Kildin Sami language, and I can read Kildin Sami language like a Russian language, and I can see the mistakes in the texts, and I am working a lot of times with the texts. Sometimes I'm working 50 hours per day, and I was very, very happy, and I feel that I making very great work and job. And
how do you see the situation? Sorry.
I want a little bit speak about the Kildin Sami language.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly.
I think I finished. Yeah.
But I want to add a little bit, because you said that your grandfather's dictionary. So your grandfathers also worked with the language.
Yes.
How do you think the situation is between when your grandfather was trying to preserving the language, and now that you're following his footsteps?
I feel me very happy. I feel the invisible. I feel the invisible network with my grandfather. Right? For me, it's perfect that then I can continue work of my grandfather. And it was not only my grandfather dictionary. A lot of people made it, and it was work group. They was working a lot of years. They collect the data, collect the material, the information from other people, and one great woman, Kuruch Rima Dmitrievna, she made this dictionary with the work group, and one of our group was my grandfather, and this dictionary always was at my home, at the bookscape, in the bookscape. And
how is the situation with the people that are learning the language? Do you think it's when your grandfather and this study group created the dictionary, the number of speakers was less, or was like now there is an increasing number of speakers because of this?
Numbers of native speakers now more and more less. That it was at the end of 18th years when the dictionary was made, and now in my opinion only 200, maybe 250 people can speak Kildin Sami language. and all native speakers are very older speaker, very old people, and I can't say that I can't fluently speak in Kildin Sami language. I can speak, but it's like a maybe 6 years child, but I can. But what about reading and writing? It's more better because I'm working with the texts. It's my biggest maybe problem. And with the Northern Sami language is the same situation. I'm working a lot with the text, with the poems. I make translation and other things, but not speaking. But why is so interesting, in my opinion, in the Sami languages? Sami languages has a lot of interesting sounds, and I like the sounds. I like the music. And I remember how I start when my mother told me when I was a child, 5 years child, in the kindergarten, went teacher from the music school, and she tried to find smart child, smart in the music, and I was very interesting, and I myself next day go to the music school and ask them, please take me in your school, and then I go to my mom and say to her about this. Mom, I was at the music school and I want to study, but I don't remember this. It was my choose, but I don't remember how it was. I was 5 years old, and in 6 years old I go to the music school and I start to learn playing on the accordion. It's maybe it's very good instrument, rich instrument, but it's very big instrument for the child. But I try to, I start to study, and I was studying at music school 8 years. Yeah, sometimes it was very hard for me because another children can go outside and playing and walking, but I must go to the school. Not music school, обычная, usual school. It's and next I must go to the music school, and for me it was a little bit hard, but I want to stop my study a lot of times, but my mother always said me, no, you must go to the music school, and I remember how it was at my home. I must play at accordion each day 40 minutes. It was my norma. I must do it every day. For example, if I passed some day, my time was calculated, and some day I could play 3 hours, 4 hours playing at accordion, but when I playing at accordion, I'm always reading the books. For me it was very easy when I was a child. I just put a book. Usually it was encyclopedia book for the children, and I'm playing at accordion and reading the books, and it's 3 hours, 4 hours sometimes, and 8 years of education at music school. Then I finished it, and maybe when I was at 5 class at the school, when I was at 12 years of old, I started to play the piano in the House of the Culture in the Lavozera, we have we has a little music group. We was playing music composition without voice, without singing, and it was very interesting experience, and playing with another people. And I was playing at the Vermona. It was old synthesizer Vermona, and I remember how it was interesting. And then I start play the guitar. My father present me to my birthday, and when I was 12, and I start to play. At the first I don't have information about how I can play the guitar, and I just made my accords because I know the system of making of accords on accordion. For example, A, C, E, La minor, and I make on the paper guitar griff, and I write each note, and then I start to find the accords, and I did it. La minor, mi minor, ye minor, yeah, other, and then I start to play, and I don't have information about correctly playing, about correct applicatura, I don't know, and I don't know nothing, but I really want to play guitar. And 1 year I play myself, then I find out one guy who can play better than me, and he knows true accords, and he showed me, and for me it was wow. Very, very interesting it was. Yes, and then at the Russia start published notes of the popular songs, a lot of the songs of the rock groups, which I very, very like, and I start to playing the guitar, but I never use the notes. For me it was very interesting find myself, how I can play it, and I then it's the internet. I can find a lot of riffs of the songs, but I never use it, and for me it was not interesting. It was more interesting when I can find myself, yeah. And I'm always playing music by my hearts, by my I don't know English word.
By you?
Yeah, by my ear, and yeah. And now I can play the guitar, acoustic, electric guitar, the piano, the kalimba a little bit. I have the ukulele, accordion, and a little bit harmonica, and I think I can play at any instruments, but I need the practice, and it's very, very good that then I was starting playing from the child when I was 6 years old, and my motorics, my fingers can working very, very good, and it's good because I know a lot of people who can start play the guitar, for example, very late, and they don't have very good motorics. It's very hard to grow this after when you know a child. It's very hard, but it's possible, but it's harder, little bit maybe.
And
Music, and I'm always like not only playing music, I'm always like record the sounds and record the music, and for me it was very interesting too, and I don't know now what for me more interesting, playing or fixing it or recording. Yeah, fixing. Okay, at the Russia фиксировать it's like a record, but in the English fix it's a little bit different mean. Yeah, and I remember when I was maybe 5 years old, my father bring to the home a tape, magnetophone, tape recorder and tape player, and I can record my child voice. And I remember how it was. I recorded something, la 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 la, and play and start to listen. Oh my God, it is my voice. Is it my voice? I was confused a little bit, and I think from this time I start to scare my voice on the recording. Maybe I very good remember my first experience, and it was not so good. But then I record my voice a lot of times, and now I like it, and now I understand how I can play with my voice a little bit, how I can record it not so bad. And yeah, and for me it's very interesting recording sounds and the voice, but I don't have knowledges and I try to do it myself and find my way, find knowledges. And I remember how I record my first song. I was 40 years old. I was using Fruity Loops, FL Studio now. Okay, it was Fruity Loops, and it was early version of this software. And my friend from the small city near the Murmansk, our airport in the Murmansk region, and he went to the Lavozera and he bring me this software, Fruity Loops, and it was time, no internet time. It was 2000 year, yeah. Yeah, and he bring me and I installed it in my PC. It was not my PC, it was computer in my mother job, because I don't have my personal computer. It was computer at the college, but I have the access to this computer and I can use it, and I use it always, this computer. For me it was new era, what is this computer, and I'm very like the computer system and the programming a little bit, and the recording. And when I find out that I can use the computer for the recording and for the making music, I was amazing. Oh wow, what is it? And I remember how it was. And okay, he bring me a FL Studio, Fruity Loops, and I made my first song. I remember how it was. I record the acoustic guitar. I made the beat at the Fruity Loops, and bass line, guitar line, air line, not air, synthesizer, a little bit like a violin. It was not so good sound, but it was my first experience when I start to montage, when I start to сводить звук. I don't know English name. To mix, yeah, when I start to mix the sound, and it's very, very hard to mix, and I was amazing. It's without mixing, it's very easy to record. You just to record and okay, but if you need mix some instruments, mix voice, sounds, instruments, and other, it's very hard. It's science. it's magic maybe a little bit to can do it, yeah, and without knowledge it's not so easy, yeah. But I remember I found out my first book in the Russian language about the sound mixing, and they wrote about the compressor, about the limiter, about the equalizing and some things. But I was 16 years old, yeah. But for me it was a little bit hard to understand some things, but I try. I start to understand. I start to use compressor, for example, yes, and equalizer, but I don't have a full picture of how I can do it. But I'm just practice. I start making songs, and at 16 years old I have my album, music album. It was maybe 15 songs on this, and I was singing, I making my music, and I made it myself only without any help, and on the mother computer at the college. Yeah, and I remember my first microphone. My friend sold it me. It was microphone from the music center, like a music boombox. It was microphone, a karaoke microphone. It was very cheap and very bad frequency, but I can use it, and I remember how I find out information, how I can clean the sound. Yes, and it was article in the computer magazine, and they put a lot of examples, and I was reading, and I found out software. It was Cool Edit. It was software Cool Edit 2000, name of software. Then the big company bought this Cool Edit, and Creative maybe, I didn't remember, but I used Cool Edit 2000, and in this software was Шумодав, noise reductor, yeah, very perfect noise reductor there was, and I can find example of the noise, for example, noise of the microphone, or and just take this example, and I can learn the software, and then software can remove all this noise, and I was very amazed. It was wow, what is technology, it's amazing, and then I can clean any sound, any sound, any record, and incredible it was. And yes, and then I finished the school in the Lavozero, and I go to the Petrozavodsk, and a lot of years I don't record the music, but in the Petrozavodsk I'm playing on the guitar a lot of years. I go to the streets and playing the songs and sings, and I met a lot of good people, and it was maybe my best time in the life. I don't need nothing, and I was a student. I don't think about the future, about the next day. I'm just living at the moment, and yeah, Petrozavodsk, it is a city in the Karelia. Very good place, very good city, very green city, a lot of trees, and a lot of teenagers, and a lot of artists, men, and other people, And I'm playing maybe 5 years on the street. Each year from the spring to the last to the last autumn. Yeah. And then I finish my education at the Petrozavodsk and come back to the Lavozero, and I was working a lot of time at the Lavozero College before, like a system administrator with the computers, then accountant, then chef accountant, financial director, and then it was very boring. I have very good salary, very good job, but it was very, very, very boring. And I'm always thinking about my job, about the money in my job, about my business. Always, it was in my head, and in one moment, I think stopped, and I sent the letter to the Kautikėna Laskuvla about studying of the Northern Sami language, and they answered me, and they give me stipendia and give me, I don't know English name, stipendia. Scholarship, yeah, they give me and gave me, yeah. And I wrote the paper on my job. I want the left year. It was on my birthday. It was the present to me. And in 3 weeks, I was in Kautikėna, yeah, and start to learn Sami language. Interesting way, and in my life, I have a lot of times when my way of my life changing, very fast changing, and from this way, okay. And now I am in the Kautikėna, and I continue my studying of the Northern Sami language. Yeah, and 3 years ago I make the music album, and you have it. Yeah, I presented it to you. Yeah, I can show a little bit.
When did you start working with Lou?
Me?
When did you find it, hear it from the first time, if you remember?
At the first time I heard it at the Lujavris in the Lavozero. I heard it a lot of time when the people make a celebration of something. A lot of old women singing, but when I was a child, I'm not interested in it. I'm not interested in sounds of the harmonica. It's very Russian sound, and I didn't like it a little bit. And when I was a child, I have opportunity to hear it, but I don't like it. Sorry. And when I start learn Sami language and Kautikėna, then I came back at the Lavozero, and I find out the old vinyl record. Its name Sami music of Kola Peninsula. Kola Peninsula Sami music, yeah. And there was Sami songs and lived. Yeah, in Kildin Sami language we name it lived. Skol Sami language lived. Yeah, and I find out the old record from the 17th, yeah, from the Soviet Union, yeah, and Soviet Onion. I like name it Soviet Onion. I always made this mistake: Soviet Onion, Soviet Union, Soviet Onion. Yeah, and they made this vinyl record, and I find out the digital version of this I made of cleaning of the sound, noise reduction and other things, and I use all my experience in my life when I made this music album, and all in this disc you can find some of songs when I use the old records of a woman singing. Her name is Pavla Ivanovna Konькова, and she was singing very, very good, very, very pretty and perfectly, and amazing was her voice. Yeah, and for example, Mariboyna, she used one time one song of this woman, Modžis Katrin, yeah, but Mariboyna made her version, very interesting version, and at the first I heard the Mariboyna version, yeah, it was very interesting, and then I find out a version of the Pavla Ivanovna Konькова, the original version, and okay, they record her at 17th, they published the vinyl at 19th. I find out this it maybe 10th years our century, and I made great job, a lot of job. I remember how it was. It was very, very hard. At the first I just cleaned the record. It was easy cleaning, but Pavla Ivanovna Konькова singing without metronome, without instrument, she just singing, and it was very hard for me to put music under her singing. I don't know it is possible or it is impossible for me, because I try to do it 1 year before and I can't do it. I try, but it's very, very hard. I don't know the way how I can do it, and I don't know. I don't have knowledge, don't have software. But then, how I did it? I clean from the noise. Okay, I have the a cappella without what was recording without metronome and other, without beat, without rhythm. No, synchronize. It's faster, longer, and okay. I try to find the speed of this and every range speed, and I'm just selected 4 phrases and start to and try to find. It was not so easy because she's singing without pause and it was hard, but I tried to find every range and I did it. And I didn't remember the count, but it's not so important. And then I make just a beat with this tempo, and tum 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 tum, and start to cut her voice, and start to, when I need it, I start a little bit, made it faster, but I do it without good software. I'm using just SoundForge. It's very old software, but I can do all using it. And then I made a synchronize with rhythm. It was the hardest of part of my job, synchronize her voice to the rhythm, but I did it. And then I use another software to a little bit tune her voice, because sometimes he singing without instruments, and sometimes his voice was quarter note between the but she singing very, very clearly, and I'm just a little bit move all her, maybe a quarter of the tone, and I didn't make very clearly each note. No, it's not interesting, because if I did it, it will like a robot singing, and not interesting, not living singing. And I save all her mistakes. It's not mistakes, it's living singing. Yeah, and I save it. Yeah, and it was very interesting. I find out quarter tones, like in a jazz, sometimes like in a blues, because it's the folk singing. And Pavla Ivanovna Konькова, in a lot of songs, she singing using pentatonica. Pentatonic, I don't know English name. Pentatonic, yeah, it's very interesting. But for example, in the songs Mojis Katrin, she using 4 notes of pentatonics, only 4 notes. Yeah, all songs on 4 notes. Perfect. It's genius. Yeah, genius. It's very simple, but in my opinion, it's genius. Then more easiest, more genius. Sorry, it's easy like a universe. The universe. And genius. Yeah. And I did it. Yeah, and maybe 1 year I was working with this, and I want to say a lot of thanks to the Sami Radio, Sami Council. They supported me, and they give me money to publish this, and I can work on this, and I don't need to go to the job every day. They help me. They always helping me. Olukito. They supporting Sami culture in different areas, art area, language area, and culture, art, music, drawing, and all theater, all kinds of arts, and of kinds of Sami growing, maybe.
But you were also doing it when you decided to use her voice in your album. You were trying to promoting Kildin Sami.
Yes,
culture.
of course,
So
of course,
can
of
you
course,
tell me
of
about
course. I think my main task, my main job is introduce Kildin Sami language, Kildin Sami people, and telling about Kildin Sami language and about the situation with our language. I think it's my main task, and I must do it because I have a lot of information, I have a lot of knowledge now, and I can do it, and I must do it. Who, if not me, who can do it? I don't know. About the left, yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit of your knowledge about it.
Kildin Sami language, we name it lived, but some people name it loved. It's but loved in Kelta Sami Kela tele like this part of the wood, but lived, why loved? Telesemma. We have a lot of dialects in the Kildin Sami language, and a lot of dialects in the Northern Sami language too, for example. and it's original Sami style. It's original Sami song. It's part of Sami soul. It's not song how we thinking about this. I heard a lot of information, for example, when the young child was born, his parents present him his left, his yoke, and in my opinion it was very, very important. For example, if Unna child feeling him very badly or he is carrying something, he can just start to sing his song, his yoke, his lift. It's like a protection from world. It's people, child can immediately put in his I don't know English words, and in his comfort mood, yeah, and in his it's like in Buddhism mantra of the Merka, for example, little bit like similar, but it's working. It's your word protection from ugly sense, from other, from scaring, from it's working. It's working like a psychological maybe help for people. And in each area we have different variant, different style of this, and different name, yoik, lift. And for example, I know in the Karelia they have yoig, but it's another style, like the Northern Sami people have it. It's another. It's not yoik, but it's named yoig. But it's songs about. It's always singing women about young guys, for example, who on their weddings. It was a little bit sarcasm songs, yoig, at the Karelia, and sometimes men do it too. But I find out the records of the yoig of the Karelia interesting, but it's another. It's not this, but it's one name, but it's another style, and in my opinion, it's like we have a lot of version of Sami languages. We have a lot of version folk Sami singing, yoik, lift, and each area we have our version of this. And because I think now a lot of people try to find what is a true yoik, what is a true lift, but it's just a science questions maybe, and we don't have a lot of records of this, and but I know for example one place in the internet when you can find more than 100 Kildin Sami songs recording in all times, and it's a perfect database, and if someone interesting, he can just start to research, because I don't have the time. I have a lot of interests, a lot of hobbies, but it's infinity area, and we have records from 40s years, 50s years, and you can find out how the style is changing, how lift changing, and the last version you can find that the Russian songs independent повлияли Russian traditional songs a little bit changing the original lift and original style of the lift. And what is the lift? It is not song. It's repeating. Lift don't have a structure. It has a little bit a structure, but in lift it's very screaming voice. It's not like a yoik. It's a little bit different, and honest, I can't heard a very long period the lift. It's hard for me, for my feeling, for my brain, for my air. Yeah, it's another experience. It's not modern songs, it's not modern music, and I feel me sometimes scaring, sometimes confusing, sometimes afraiding. I feel it from the my deeply from the my I can't describe this. It's sometimes it's very shamanic, sometimes it's very it's very interesting. Yeah, it's and I think we some people try to use it now in the popular music. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not so good, and I try to do it to mix modern music and old recording, but I'm used not maybe original Luft too. It's like a Luft. It's more modern style of the Luft. But I heard original Luft. It's hard. It's hard experience. And
what are the main differences between this modern Luft and like rhythm, melody?
Rhythm, yeah, a little bit more melodic, because old Luft not melodic. It has melodic. You can find melodic, but it's strange melodic. It's another notes. It's another intervals, and yeah, in my opinion, it's a little bit shamanic, and it's maybe not so good for recording. I don't know. And also, a lot of people like it, but it's important part of Sami culture, and yeah. In my opinion, now a lot of people try to they using Sami culture for making money. Yeah, and Sami music, Sami original style, Sami lift, Sami yoik. Some of these experiments, it's not for making money, but I don't know, is it good where we share it? I don't know. It's good and it's not good too. In one my hand I can find it's good, but sometimes it's not good, because a lot of people try make money on this, using the gagt, using the music, using the all attribute of Sami culture. And at the Russia, a lot of people try to do it now, and I don't like it. But I don't know what we can do with this, and in my opinion, we must, not we, they, the government must make a law about a heritage of Sami people. It's like a culture heritage. Sami language, Sami culture, Sami songs, Sami yoiks, Luft, yeah, other. But we don't have this law. And
about the, for example, in can I see? Sorry, the CD. I don't remember the titles perfect. Gasset, for example. It's if I remember correctly, that is an instrumental track. and there are birds. And
Yeah, it's instrumental. In all instrumental on this disc, I use improvisation. I don't made a lot of takes. I made just one take of keyboards. One take. In my opinion, it's good, and I try don't edit it. And sometimes you can find mistakes, but I save it. In my opinion, mistakes it's very good too. Humans don't like very clearly songs, very clearly recording, very clearly voice, and a little bit mistakes. It's good when people singing, when people playing. Yeah, it's because only robot can playing without mistakes. Yeah, and or singing without mistakes. And cassette, and also I'm using the sound of the environment of the Lavozera. For example, I'm using singing of the birds. I recorded outside. It was not so easy to record, to find the place to record, but I go to the forest and just put outside and waiting, and then go to the home, and I was record a lot of information, a lot of data, and then I just find interesting places. And sometimes I record my dog. Maybe it was my interesting experience. Yes, and dog was alone maybe 4 hours, and I was very amazing. Was very amazing with the dog was along. He started to ooh, ooh, and I recorded it, how he crying and how it incredible sounds. It best sound. It's to your soul you can feel it, and I use it with my friends Yersem Galkin when we make our hip hop song, and this is song about the Lavozera, about the about how it's hard to live in the Lavozera, about the about the I try to say to everyone using this sound how we living at the Lavozera, and I remember that I was in the big depression when I made it, and I tried to use depression sounds and voice of my dogs, and when he was alone, and interesting composition. And when another people heard it, they asked me, what is this sound? They thinking it's wind. Like, oh no, it's dog. And I put a lot of reverberation on his singing. Singing, yeah. And interesting experience. And then I start to think that I must use environment sounds. It's best way maybe to introduce something, to tell something people about your place, about your feeling. And music instruments, it's good too, but I can use any sound from environment and using it like a music instruments, like a notes for music composition, and anyway using its sound. And I mun macht an so echt sound, yeah.
And so in this music, for example, in Biafra, the birds are musicians also for you, or Is it more like background, or do you think they participate in a way with your music?
I think it's good music, for example, for the mall, for the airport, maybe sometimes. And I like listening this when I ride a bike, sihkilasten. Yeah. Long way, long distance, headphones, headphones, sorry, наушники, yeah. And tum 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 tum, and yeah, it's cassette. It's funny music. It's positive notes, yeah, and it's good for walking outside, maybe when you not hurry up, if you have a lot of time, free time, for example.
Does these sounds, for example, that you recorded make you feel like home? Like make you feel when you hear these recordings? Do they make you feel like you are home in Lujavre?
Not the Lujavre. I feel me like I'm outside. Yeah. Not at home. Not in car, for example. No. Outside, on the nature. Yeah, and maybe I try to tell it. I don't know. So but you can find another songs on this musical disc. And in my opinion, each song has his atmosphere, and I thinking about the nature when I did it, and nature is my main teacher, is my main
inspiration.
Yeah, of course, yeah, and some names of the songs, it's named cassette, for example, Northern Light. But first name of the composition cassette, it was Incautecana, Coaftucanos, it was, yeah. Because when I did it, I thinking about my first experience in Cautecana when I studying at here in 2017, yes. And for example, if you go to my vk.com account, this name in Cauticanos, these songs, yeah, the first name.
So there is not specific connection between the sounds that you recorded and the place?
Yes, it's maybe not so mean for me local, but it's all about the north. Yeah, and for me it's same. Yeah.
Okay, maybe.
And for example, another composition, Kid Lujavreсть, the spring in the Lavozera. The first, it was autumn. I didn't remember the original name. Yeah, Kid. Now it's but first name it was last autumn in the Lujavre. Last autumn when the snow started, but then I changed it Kid. Well, I change the name when I working on this, not after finishing. When I working and what I feeling, and I remember how it was. It was recorded at the Kidda, yeah. And I remember a lot of clouds, how they on the heaven go, but very, very slowly. A lot of ice on the river, very, very slowly. Birds very, very slowly, and all changing very, very slowly. And this composition, it's Kid Lujavres. It's my favorite. I very like it. It's not a format composition. It's very long, maybe 8 or 9 minutes, but it's my favorite. When I do something, it's like a meditation for me. I just push play and to do okay, another time, another another place, and another me. Interesting. I don't know how it's working. I'm not realizing how music is working, why it's working on the people, on the brain, how. I don't realize it, but I feel it and I use it.
Do you think that, well, in this case it's not lute or not yoik, but do you think that yoik and lute work differently towards brain and soul than other kinds of music? Do they connect differently?
In my opinion, our brain can work in a lot of frequency, and music sound is vibration, is frequency. Like, no, it's not like, it's frequency is vibration, all sound and all singing. And when I heard the yoik or luft, my mood putting in another atmosphere, in another vibration, and it's very hard to describe. It's another style. It's not modern music. And I know a lot of indigenous people have their music style, but all world like blues, like rock and roll. But blues, it's too folk music, yeah. But reggae, for example. But in my opinion, not all music, not all kinds of music can be world popular music, because a lot of people like easy music. Yes, they like easy music, music to easy understanding. Yeah, for example, jazz music is hard to understand for a lot of people, and because a lot of people don't like jazz music. Yoik, luft is hard music too. It's maybe not music, but it's hard to understand and it's hard to feel, and sometimes I'm afraid to feel it sometimes. It's interesting. I can't describe it. It's like from a beginning of the human, or when the human is starting, people sitting around the fire in the grave, and I feel this when I heard. And sometimes I don't know why, but I'm afraid it. Yeah, sometimes I feel me very happy and I feel, wow, what is this? But I think not all modern people can feel it and can understand this and can hear this, because can listen this, because it's very original.
Is it the same like listening to the environment? Because a lot of people doesn't pay attention, for example, to...
Sometimes, yes, it's similar, and I know very interesting information about our Sami people. They use, for example, environment for sound, for making sound louder. For example, when they swimming on the river, they use the mirror of the lake, of the river. They use the mountain for echo, and I heard a lot of information for this, how they are playing with this on the nature, with the sound, without electricity, and yeah, but you can do it. It's working very interesting. If you go to the field, for example, and start to singing, field, it's very another sound. I don't know why, but in my opinion, it's no sound reflection, yeah, in the field. And in the forest, sounds another way to on the water, and Sami people use it too. I remember one time, it was very interesting story. Maybe not about the listening music, but about the music and about environment and nature. I go to the mountains like I here with my dog and my friend. We used to bicycle and we ride by trail, yeah, and we find out very interesting place, the lake and the mountain, and my dog start to wow, it's yellow song, yeah. It was very interesting. I never heard it before. It's starting from guff and go and louder and louder, and sound go from one point to the left, and it was living reverberation, echo camera like a lake and mountain, and then I start to sing, and then I try to record it, but now it's very hard to record this. But it was incredible. And next time I was at Kirkenes. I traveling by hitchhike from the Kirkenes to the Murmansk, and I go step by step in the Kirkenes tunnel. I can do it, but I don't know it. Then they prohibited do it step by step walking. But I just go to the borderline, and I just go to the home to my mom and to my dog, and I go to the tunnel, very long, maybe half of a kilometer, maybe 1 kilometer, I don't know. But I start to sing. It was incredible, and I heard my voice around me, and it's maybe was perfect reverberation in my life what I heard at the living, and I know that I can make it on the computer. I can't I can't make virtual this process, but in the living it's incredible, longer tunnel, and just hey and ooh, 10 seconds, 20 seconds end of the echo, incredible, and